Well, you'll never know the heartache of looking a grown man in the eye, and he asked, am I gonna make it? And you gotta lie. Well, they call me Doc, but I ain't got no degree. When shit hits the fan, they're calling for me. From bluegrass Kentucky, with red blood on my hands, nobody calls me hero except for my friends. Yeah, they call me Doc.
Hello, fellow brothers and sisters and American patriots, to another episode of Sick Call with Doc. I'm your host, Rod Doc Walbeck, United States Navy Corpsman. As always, my co-host, Joe Misfit Glenn, Combat Army Medic. Pushing the buttons in the back, Brian Devil Dog Roof, United States Marine Corps. And today, we have a very unique individual. This man was a Navy Bos'N Mate. He was a lieutenant in the Merchant Marine Mariner group. He's a substitute teacher. He helps fellow veterans. He writes lyrics, writes music, and plays instruments. Please welcome to Sick Call with Doc, Jessie Jones, United States Navy Bos'N Mate. Jessie, baby.
Welcome, Jessie. Warm welcome. Wow. I never even thought about that type of stuff. Music to me, well, it saved my life. And the reason why music saved my life was because it was the only thing that never hurt me. Okay. It's the one thing that's never let me down. It's the one thing that is solid. It's the one thing that is universal. And it's the one thing that you can share, you can make, you can create, and it will last throughout the universe if it is good enough. I'm also a strong marijuana supporter. Now, I don't believe everyone should be smoking marijuana, but I do believe that there is a place for it, and especially with our veterans, because the combination of marijuana and music that I used with the combination, it got me through the darkest day of my life. Okay. To understand this darkest day of my life, you have to understand where I come from. Now, I'm not going to tell you this sob story because all of us have our own past. That's what makes us. That's what creates us. Even the most negative thing that we have been through and we might think about, that's what makes you tough. That's what makes you who you are.
I went to a Grateful Dead show and it just changed my life.
Exactly. And not only that, I mean, you know, it's our opinion that we interpret through this and not fully understanding the whole story while we go through it, right? I mean, because we're kids or adults or young and whatever else. My father, sure. My father was a Master Chief Bos'N Mate. You don't make that being really nice, especially through the 70s and 80s and 90s. Okay. Yeah. He prepared me, and his lifestyle was the ship. You're going to live like a sailor through childhood. You're going to know, so that way when you do get to your ship, you're going to be comfortable. You're not going to feel isolated because of a small room or whatever else. You get what I'm saying? You are used. So it was that tough love that whenever I got onto, no matter what, I was on tugboat, man. I spent 4 months on a tugboat one time, Crowley Maritime. Crowley, I love that company too. That is one of the best, greatest companies out there. Crowley, big shout out to Crowley Maritime. But I did 4 months out there, and you know, I wouldn't have been able to last if it wasn't for everything that I went through. It was during COVID-19 and everything else. But anyway, back to the Navy days. I joined the Navy because I was bred for it. That's what I was bred for. I was brought up by a strict English mother, my stepmother, who is British, very strict. And then, of course, being with my father as a Bos'N Mate, it was very structured, very strict, very white gloved. So we got through childhood, everything else. I wound up getting into a little bit of substance issues before I got into the Navy, just because of that fast lifestyle of seeing people come home and having parties when they come home. You know what I mean? So that was what that was all about. I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I'm just saying that I picked up some real bad habits while I grew up, as I grew up. So that way, when I started isolating myself, it manifested to a real bad area. But how did I get to that area? I wound up going into the Navy at about 19 years old. I took a year off out of high school, and I worked with my father, because the only thing I really wanted to know was my dad. I looked up to him. He was my hero. Still is my hero. Absolutely. The man could do no wrong. And I got into a car accident. I was about 17 years old. And it was my father's friend who was driving, who was drunk. And we didn't know it. And it damn near killed me. And that was when I was 17. My dad during this time was in the Navy. He only had about 9 months left to retire. He was in the gym and he was lifting weights, and the cable snapped. And when all that weight came down, he wound up slipping a disc in his back, in his lower back, and it messed him up really bad. So he had to retire. He wound up getting surgery through the VA. He wound up getting severe pain, so he wound up getting on he wound up getting on a painkiller. Yeah, started getting on all that. You started getting on the bad stuff. I got into my car accident and won that settlement. My father was addicted to drugs. I didn't know this. I wound up giving him money to help him retire. And instead what happened was he blew all that money on drugs and wound up having a stroke. Of course, I was in boot camp while this was all going on. But what I'm saying is I've lived with that. I've lived with that guilt all of my, since my young adulthood. So for me, I am heavily against any form of painkillers. I do not like pills. When I take my medication, there was a form of medication that I was prescribed that was a form of a painkiller, and I was having actual physical reactions and anxiety attacks because of that. That's how serious I am about this, because I know it has destroyed lives. Period. Absolutely. And so I'm in the Navy now. Everything is going great. That's the reason why I joined the Navy, was because my father's deterioration. It was either me wind up living on the streets with him, or you're going into the Navy. And I went into the Navy, and I'm glad. I wish the situation was different, but I will never, ever regret my choice. I am so very proud that I joined the Navy. It was the proudest moment of my life, because I was a part of what my father is in my heart. You know what I mean? Yeah. Tradition. And that's one thing we really don't have is tradition. So the Navy to me was tradition.
The USS Kitty Hawk, huh?
USS Kitty Hawk, CV-63, 7th Fleet, tip of the spear, Yokosuka, Japan. We were stationed out of Yokosuka, Japan. Fort deployed. We were on the go. I went out to now I cannot remember who was stationed out in the Persian Gulf during 9/11, but I know we were there to relieve them. We were the second aircraft carrier there, except for them. They were stationed there. We went on out there right after 9/11.
I think it was the Enterprise, but don't quote me. I think
Right,
it was
don't
the
quote me
Enterprise.
either, because everything was crazy. Anyway, so I was at home. I was at my brother's house in Gloucester, Virginia, Gloucester Point, Virginia. I love Virginia, by the way. Gloucester Point, Virginia. And I was hanging out with my little niece. I will never forget this. She was wearing a bumblebee outfit for Halloween. And the Twin Towers went down. We were outside. We ran on inside, blah, blah, blah. We seen it. And it was like, oh my gosh. Then I got a phone. Like after it felt so unreal. And I got a phone call. Because I was like, what am I doing? I'm on leave. This is the first time I come home on leave, and 9/11 happens. Shit, what do I do? So I wound up getting a phone call, and they said, you have 36 hours to get to the boat. Ticket is over at this is where you're going. Get there. You got until this time to get there. And let me tell you what, we got there.
Yeah.
It was
hitchhike, taxis.
It didn't matter. So I wound up. It was horrible what happened. Horrible. But they also knew, like, okay, we got to get this guy there quick. Let's not scare the shit out of him. So they turned around and gave me like an admiral's flight on a personal freaking flight. Dude. I got a personal flight from Virginia to California and then from there on out to Japan. But I wound up getting back to Japan. I get back on the ship. I get on the ship, right? Someone got into my rack and threw everything away, man. I had nothing on the ship whatsoever, man. And then I got written up for being out of uniform. But what I'm just trying to say was, it was an experience and a half, something I will never forget. And it's something of the true reason of why I am so very proud of being a veteran. All right. Now, at the same token, I know there's so many more people that done so much more. And because of that, I've always looked at myself as just a person that did his job. You know what I mean? Because there are veterans that are out there that have done some shit. And there were people like me. You know what I mean? We did our job. We did it right. We did it with pride. That was it. So that's all you have.
Good sailor. A good
sailor, man.
The only thing you have is your word and your reputation. That's it.
And your bunk.
What you have. And it's a small world. So my wise advice is, whatever you do it the best that you can do and do it with pride. As long as you do that, you'll be all right. Even if you don't do it right, at least you tried. So then I wound up, so the Navy was great. I wound up getting transferred over to Washington State. I wound up going on the USS Rainier. I wound up decommissioning the Rainier, which is an AOE. That's basically we deliver bombs and fuel and all that other stuff to the ships and DOD. It's a part of, during this time, this was the Department of the Navy still, but it was transitioning from the Army to the Navy, from the Navy to the civilian, but it's still part of the Department of the Navy. So now what happens is I wound up going to the Camden, and I wound up serving my last 6 months on the Camden. And during that last 6 months, I got picked up by Military Sealift Command, the Department of Defense Military Sealift Command during that time. Then it got changed to Military Fleet Support Command. So who knows what it's called now. But what I'm trying to say is they picked me up and recruited us. There was a couple of people that they recruited. And I wound up going into Military Sealift Command, and I loved it. I enjoyed
as a civilian, right?
As a civilian. I was a civilian. I got out of the Navy. Now, during my time that I got out of the Navy, there were some things that I was going through. Heavy drinking, isolation, deep depression. Things I'm not proud of. Things I am not proud of that I've done. And that I've learned from. And it wasn't substance abuse outside of alcohol. There was a lot of alcohol in the play. And that was because of boredom. And I felt bad because it was like I gave up on my heritage kind of thing. You know, like my dad served and it's up to me to carry on the watch for 30 years or whatever else. And because I got out after 5 years, and the reason why I got out of 5 years, it was because I'm not going to say anything negative, but what I will say is that certain things changed, and so did my opinions about certain things. So instead of complaining about it, instead of allowing my own opinion to start changing my professionalism or my attitude, I got out. You know what I mean? And that way I still have that pride. I still maintain that attitude. It's just I don't agree with some things that are going on.
You bolted out before you self-destructed.
That's right. That's right. And while I was out, that's where the depression and the anxiety, that's what I found out it was. It was anxiety, this intense anxiety that just completely consumes you, man. There's no getting out of it.
You're no longer wearing dungarees, bro.
Yeah.
Now you're out there in the real world, and
you felt like you gave up on your brothers and your sisters out there. You know what I mean? All your shipmates. You felt like, you know, and then all of a sudden you heard about your other friend that you served with. He took shore duty, and all of a sudden, you know, things didn't go well for him. And now you're filled with this guilt. You're filled with all this anger at yourself and remorse. So then what do?
Regret.
You got regret. So instead of complaining about it, I went into military Sea Lift Command because I knew it was my call. I had to do it. I had to do something. So I got picked up immediately. We got picked right up. A friend of mine by the name of Campos. I keep saying we because my friend who was a SAR swimmer at the time, Campos, who was a BM2 as well too, got me into military Sea Lift Command. So
he was Sea and Air Rescue?
Search and rescue. Yeah, he was a search and rescue swimmer. Badass, dude. You want to hear some stories? Talk to our search and rescue men.
Absolutely.
They have some cool, real cool stories, man. And dude, you want to talk about heroes? Those are some fucking heroes, man. I am serious. The shit that they have to go through. Wow.
Yeah, just to be one. Yeah.
I think dang near every veteran I've ever talked to has this problem that you were just discussing with us, as far as, you know, separating from the military service, whichever branch you're in. You know, we lose our sense of purpose, our structure, our camaraderie, you know, brother, sisterhood, whichever you want to call it. But those things are such a part of our lives in the military. While we're in, we don't even notice it. It's just like everybody's family, you know. And then when you move out, we don't know what to do, how to even react. You know?
Yeah, the only thing that I could try to switch back to is, like, you try to remake the positive memories of the camaraderie. So how do we, you know, the Navy ways, and I know that's changed, but let's just face the facts, man. There's nothing better. At one time in my life, there was nothing better than getting off of a 4-month deployment or a 6-month deployment, coming home and just getting ripped and torn with your friends at the bar.
Kiss the ground.
Loose, man, and just enjoying life, man. So then what happens is you get out and you miss that. You miss the camaraderie. It's not the drinking that was so much fun. It's the camaraderie. That's what made it so much fun, dude. And the shit,
you lose that direction for all of your energy that you have. You lose that outlet. You know?
Do.
It just builds and builds and then hurts.
Yeah, and at that time, I really wasn't focusing. I was kind of getting a little bit into music. I was still kind of writing, but that really didn't take off. So because I didn't have that as a tool, and I didn't smoke marijuana at the time, and I didn't do anything else, so I just sat around in my house, drunk as a doorknob, damn near every other day to every 3 days, super depressed until my friend Campos came on by and said, hey, dude, let's get the fuck out of here. We're going back to sea. So we went back to sea, went to military SEAL command. I loved it. I love that job. If you ever have any form of guilt or remorse, or you don't think you've done enough, and you still kind of live with that, and you're like, what can I do? Go to military SEAL command, dude. You will not regret it. I promise you, man. It will fill you up with so much pride, because what you are doing is you are serving the military. Right. You're serving the military. And you want to feel pride, serve the military, man. Serve for the military, man. You give back to the military saying, thank you for your time. Thank you for your service.
Yes, something just hit me, man.
Yeah, what's up?
I don't know about you guys, and I don't know about our listeners, our fellow veterans, brothers, sisters, but when I went to boot camp, I was in shock. You know what I mean? Like, I was shitting my pants, man. Like, in fact, we went 10 days without even pooping because we were so shell-shocked.
You know what?
I mean?
I was used to it, man. I was used to it. When I was there, while I was there, I'm not saying I was like one of those guys in where no, man. It wasn't like, I'm not saying I wasn't scared. What I am saying, though, was my RDCs compared to my father, with all due respect to my RDCs, didn't hold shit compared to my father. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I was used to the yelling and all that stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. You're used to that. You're like, yeah, it's like football. It's like you're in football practice, you know?
I went from my mother's table with an oatmeal breakfast.
Oh shit!
To homeboys screaming in my face.
Oh yeah,
rain, freezing my ass off.
You also you hung out with the Marines.
There's no getting out of it. Huh? Did you
hang out with the Marines, Doc?
No, I didn't get a chance to serve at the green side, man.
Okay.
One of my big Navy bummers. I wish I could have.
Okay.
But I had a different course. The Navy. The Navy, bro.
But you're around it. What I'm trying to say, you're corpsmen. You know what I mean? The corpsmen are, and it depends on your background. It depends on your background. So I mean, if you're used to living a very comfortable lifestyle, it will be very surprising.
I mean, the homesickness, Jesse. The homesickness. I'd never been away from home. Never been on a plane before.
Yeah.
On the bus ride to boot, I smoked 3/4 of a pack of smokes in an hour's time. I just lighting one after the other. My point is this. Here's my point.
I also went in the 90s too. So the 90s was a lot more different than when you went in. When you went in, the Navy was the Navy. Okay, I'm sorry. No offense to the Navy. We got the world's greatest Navy. Yes, I believe that. But what I'm saying is, at one time, and this is my opinion, the Navy men were fucking Navy men, dude. They were badass. You didn't fuck with them, man. You didn't mess with them. I'm not saying now. I'm just saying they just had a different. It was different, man. And maybe it was because of my view, because I was a kid. So you got to take that into account too.
Yeah, so, there was quite a bit of culture shock.
Yeah.
So my point is this. When you go from running a gun on a helicopter in Afghanistan in 48 hours, you're back at your mother's table having oatmeal. It's as big a shot that direction as it was. That's why we had such a hard time when we transitioned out. It's as big a shot as when we went in.
Right.
Brand new culture, right? All your buddies are older and they can't get you. They don't understand. Your mom and dad don't. Blah blah blah. And so here you are, a lost fucking soul
that nobody understands.
The worst part for me was getting up at 5:30 in the morning, or because I was used to standing mid-watch, getting up at 3:30 in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and not having anything to do. Nothing to do, because you always had something to do, Hey, I got shark current, blah, blah, blah. But this was MSC. So we're going to continue on with the story real quick. So in MSC, what happened was I met my wife. I met my wife in MSC. She was a sailor. I was a sailor. And she lives in Michigan. So I stayed in MSC for as long as I could until we had our second kid. And then life started getting a little more complicated. So I could only stay there for as long as I could stay there. Excuse me. I got out and I started looking at jobs. Me and my wife were looking at jobs and we're like, I got to get back to sea. I have to. And we started looking at different shipping companies, and Crowley Maritime was there. Crowley Maritime, it's tug and barge. They just by a couple of inches, they have the second large. They used to carry the second largest barges in the world. In my opinion, they were all the same. They're huge barges, huge, little small tugboat, man, badass tugboat though. Work with some of the greatest navigators, captains, chief engineers, able-bodied seamen, ordinary seamen, some of the best men and women at sea at that company. The hurricanes that we seen that destroyed small islands. I have never in my life seen not only a company come together, but just us as human beings coming together. And we just all as one, we didn't think about anything else but that island. You know what I mean? It was all about the mission. And that right there reminded me of that pride that I missed so very much from the Navy, that I missed. So that was healing for me. And I became a mate while I was in military Sea Lift Command. My wife, I wouldn't have been able to do that without the help of my wife. My wife was my tutor. Yeah, if you understood my my struggles growing up, you know what I mean, with school and everything else. My wife is just an amazing woman that just took the time and just the effort and the energy and helped me get the license. And that was the third proudest moment of my life. The third proudest moment of my life. After my family. You know what I mean? And after my culture. I wound up transferring to Crowley. I started off as a training mate, which basically means that you just learn operations of a tow winch. You just drop wire to let the barge out that carries containers and whatnot, or you bring it in. You got to make sure it's very, very, very tricky because it's easy to get tangled up. But because I was a Bos'N Mate on AOEs, I'm used to working with wire. It was nothing to me. You know what I mean? It's second nature, man. I was extremely good at it. I was trained by the best winch operators out there. And I came back and I trained a few myself. I would be training now. However, here's a personal. I'll let you in a little bit of a tidbit right now. The state of California took away my sister and my brother and me from my dad when I lived in California when I was a kid. I don't know all the entails of it, but it had something to do with the school, and it had something to do with whatever we said to the school in regards to us because of children being children. Okay. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong because I don't know all the details. All I know is that the cops came to the school and took my brother, my sister, and me away from my dad. And my brother and my sister went into foster care through the state of California. I chose to go back home. It affected me. the reason why I'm mentioning that was because what happened was I was talking, and it's no one's fault. This is no one's fault. So I'm not trying to say, nothing like that. This mental health awareness, okay? Sometimes what happens is you're dealing with so much untreated trauma that you don't know what'll happen and you don't know what'll trigger it. Here's my experience. I was talking to my sister I hadn't talked to since I don't even know how old. And we just got a touch. And it didn't go well. And then all of a sudden, all those emotions started coming back. Sleep deprivation too came back, and it just triggered me. It triggered me. Something triggered me. It just started getting the wheels turning. Start getting them wheels turning. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then everything else started catching me. You know, the wheels turning about whenever I first got out of the military, all that anxiety started coming back. And then when I got out of MSC, before I got into Crowley Maritime, all that anxiety started coming back. And this time I'm at Crowley and I'm going through this and I don't know what it is. I have no clue what it is. And I'm a chief mate. And I know the rules and regulations, man. I studied my rules and regulations, man. I was a first officer, chief mate, directly underneath the captain. You know, you got the captain, chief mate, chief engineer, or you got the captain, chief engineer, chief mate, whichever way you want to go. But what I'm saying is that we had emotional disturbances that was going on, and something was overlooked. It was, I'm not gonna describe what it is because I'm not gonna talk about that type of stuff, but something was overlooked. And what normally would irritate a person put me through such an anxiety attack. I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not trained in this, but I will say that I have talked to people and I've researched it and I've looked into it, and I was in a manic state. I was in a manic state for 5 days. 5 days going from one port to another port. And when I snapped out of it, I realized what happened. And I resigned right then and right there because I knew that I put people's lives at risk. I put people's lives at risk, and I refused to ever do anything like that again. And maybe it was an overreaction, but what happened to me, I cannot explain. It was the scariest thing I've ever experienced.
Well, you made a decision at the time that you felt was right. You can deal with that.
Yeah.
We're 33 minutes in. We're about halfway through.
Yeah.
So now we've got you to a point where you're done with your maritime service.
Right.
And then some shit hits the fan for a while, and then you
3 years. 3 years.
Then you find your way. So
then basically what happens is between that time and now, right in between the two, my wife started seeing that my mental health was declining. She started seeing that I was getting into a dark place, a real dark place. And I didn't realize I was there. And she took me to the hospital. The doctors asked me a couple of questions. They didn't make me feel weird. They didn't make me feel out of place. And they asked me that one question on whether or not if you planned for your suicide or not. And yes, I did. Right then and there, man. They comforted me. They took me in. They helped me out. Then they got me help. They got me services and everything else. Then whenever I got back out, because I was still going through the VA at the time, because after that meltdown that I had, I went to the VA and they gave me a bunch of prescriptions. You know what I mean? Just all sorts of shit. And
Jesse, if I could, brother, if I could, man, let's hold up right there. Let's get some our midway commercial through. This
Sure.
This is what we like to focus on, man. And so
Absolutely.
let's see that. Okay. Thank you,
All
brother.
right.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, guys.
Are you ready to be inspired by incredible stories of veterans, active duty military members, and first responders? Join Marine veteran Brian Roof on Every Day is a Saturday, USMC veteran, as he dives deep into the lives of those who continue to make a difference. Hear firsthand experiences from front lines to civilian life. Discover the strength, resilience, and triumphs of our heroes. Gain valuable insights and practical advice for navigating life's transitions. With every episode, you'll be uplifted by stories of courage, determination, and hope. This is more than just a podcast. It's a community where every day feels like a Saturday. Subscribe now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Don't miss out on these powerful conversations that will leave you inspired and motivate us. Let's go.
And we're back.
All right.
So,
Right. So we were talking about the VA and we were talking about medications and whatnot because of what was happening with me. They wound up just piling the medications up. I was taking 3 different types of meds. One was for bipolar. So I found out I was bipolar, or I am bipolar. And another was for anxiety. So, of course, the 2 combinations were offsetting each other.
yeah.
What I'm just trying to say is that I got answers that really, after you get the answers, life starts making a lot more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's why. But what so, but don't let it hold you back, because I also earned my bachelor's degree during all this stuff. You know what I mean? All during everything. You know what I mean? I started it while I was in military Sea Lift Command, and I carried it through Crowley, and I finally earned it. I got a transportation logistics management, and with that degree, I'm able to substitute teach. Now, did I get out of whatever I was doing and then go teach? No. My kids got me into teaching. My kids taught me that it was healing because the time that I spent away from my kids, that I missed, and I didn't even realize that I missed. So as I'm substitute teaching, okay, and I don't do it all the time. It's healing. It is truly healing. So if you have that type of, you know what I mean, emotional issue or whatever else, man, try substitute teaching, man. It's not for everyone.
No.
That is exactly what I've tried to explain to Doc and Brian. That is why I teach right there, Doc. And when as little or as much as I do, that is why it's therapeutic. And just to have somebody else have that whole experience and be able to do their own thing through your tutelage, it's just like he said, man, it's therapeutic and it's healing. It really is. Absolutely.
And not only that, but the people you meet that also do the same thing, such as yourself. But what I'm saying is there's quite a few other people that I could name off. I'm not going to name off, but basically that just are really good people. And the more you talk to them, the more you get to understand on your passion and why it actually exists and how to improve yourself over time. And through that, you find answers. It's not a cure, but at least it does give some form of relief and a direction. Now, how does music and marijuana play a role in this? It's crazy, right? My dark days, I sat back and I played guitar every day. Just, it didn't matter if it made sense. It didn't matter if it was happy or sad, just every single day. And I don't know how to really play cover songs. That's my honesty. I can play cover songs, but I play original music. So it's healing, and I use it as a tool to identify, to basically heal that emotion that is harmed, right? And how was I able to identify it? I was able to identify it through marijuana, because I would sit back and say, why am I thinking like this? Well, I was able to slow things down, be able to analyze things through music and identify exactly what it is and say, oh my gosh, that's what it is. That's what I get doing. I mean, so that's another thing is about that. It's more about, it's about healing.
It is. So let me ask you a question, Jesse. It's about that point. I like to ask, the guests, as far as cannabis goes, how do you ingest it? Do you smoke it? Do you eat it? How does that work for you? And what kind of strains do you like? Do you like sativas, indicas? What kind of?
My favorite strand is Dragon Blood. My friend Wizard, and I smoke it. It's not something I do all the time. It's something into where it's used as medicine. It's not, you know what I mean? Now, I'm not saying that, I don't drink. So, I mean, if I was going to sit back and have a good time with friends too, yes, it can be used as that. But for this podcast, I am strictly saying that I use it as medication, period. It's as medication. It's used to be used as medication. And I believe over 21, period. If you're under 21, you need to use either a tonic or something else, but you shouldn't be smoking. Not at under 20. Ingesting it, doctor supervision. That's my personal opinion. I'm no doctor. But over the age of 21, by all means, do it. By all means. If you are able to do it, if you're able to function, but you have to be careful with it, man. You really have to be careful, because it can be a very slippery slope. It can be a very slippery slope. And once again, my personal belief is not everyone should, because there are some people out there that should. You know what I mean? That should not. Either one, because they're on so many different types of medications, or two, you know what I mean? Things like that. Or because they drink with medications and marijuana. That's what I'm trying to say. Is it depends on lifestyle, man. And me, I use it as medication. I play guitar to be able to help heal. And through this, people support it.
Do you do the CBD edibles for pain? Do you do the THC for anxiety or depression? I mean, what do you?
I use CBD right now for anxiety. I use that like at nighttime before bed.
Okay.
If it's a Saturday or something like that, and if I'm helping out a friend of mine or something like that, and if he wants to have a friend come on over and wants to discuss things, then maybe I will have some Dragon's Blood, because it calms down my anxiety, completely calms down my anxiety. And at the same time, it doesn't make me feel like a zombie. Medication, in my opinion, I'm sorry if I'm moving. Medication to me makes me feel as if I'm a zombie. It makes you fat. It changes your body. And everything else. At least my experiences of that. With marijuana, you do still have side effects at times, but it's not nearly as bad as with medications, in my opinion. My wife at one time asked me about 2 weeks ago, she said, do you mind telling me what you were doing? Because I've never seen you so happy, so up, and doing so well.
For so long, consistently. Yeah.
So long, consistently. Marijuana right there. You know what I mean? And I'm doing it not all the time, just do an amount of time.
So
and
with the dragon's blood, I looked it up because I'm really curious about the dominance and stuff, and we've been talking a lot about how
it's a pure Hawaiian
stuff. Yeah, and so we had been talking about the indica and how it reacts with some people, and sativas react with some people, and so the vibe that you get from this dragon's blood, which is sativa dominant hybrid, that's what indica does for me. Sativa does the exact opposite for me that it would do for you. I think it's fascinating that we're all absolutely individual on when it comes to cannabis. It's
absolutely beautiful. It is a beautiful thing. Yeah, I think it's a great I think it's just a great it's a great thing. It's an adventure that you have to take out on yourself, and you have to look beyond. You have to look beyond. We have to look beyond the intoxication mode and look into the medication mode, at least in my opinion. Not saying there's not a place for it. I'm just saying for this podcast, that is what my message is with marijuana, is it should be as medication. If you use it as an edible, it's fine. I personally don't get anything from the edible. I can sit back and eat it. It doesn't do shit for me. You know what I mean? It doesn't do anything. Concentrates. I've tried concentrates. They wind up making me not do a lot. Sativa, however, I like sativa.
That's my gig. I love sativa.
It allows me to stay focused. It allows me to stay motivated. It keeps me calm when anxiety kicks over. You know what I mean? And it's like I said, you just take it like medication, and that's what works for me. Along with Joe, it's therapeutic, man. It's therapeutic.
Yeah, and Joe says all the time. I say it all the time, man. If you've never used cannabis as a medicine, bring a battle buddy who has.
Yeah,
that's right, man.
Because somebody you can trust, folks. Don't get that guy that wants to play.
Don't get that guy your wife don't like.
Don't do that. Get the person you trust, bro. I promise, man. Yeah, they'll play with you.
Yeah. You got a guy before? Come here.
Yeah. Oh, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, great experience. Goes down.
Yeah.
He loses his mind.
Yeah, but so music, man. Like I've been trying to figure out. Joe and I talked, Brian. We talked about how can we implement the three medicines I think are the best, and that's laughter, music, and cannabis.
Yeah, definitely.
So we've been trying to figure out how we can pull in the music side and the comedy side of life, and we're doing it right here with you today.
Yeah,
music heals your soul, does it not?
Yeah. That music is.
I actually walk around with headphones in my ear. I'll keep one earbud in right when all my grandbabies are around, and the noise levels up here, and everybody's just bouncing off the walls and hurting themselves and being crazy. That is my focal point. So I can turn it off. I've developed a way to turn off the music and pay attention to what's going on with this here. But when I need to, I switch, and it just goes right to that, and I go somewhere else for a few seconds. Come back, I'm breathing calmly again. It's amazing.
Call him like 5-finger death punch in the morning.
No, I can't go doing that either. That's like a sativa for me, man. I can't do it. I gotta be calm, bro.
Got some Barry Manilow shit going on.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah. And it's just not it's not just any one genre that I listen to. I listen to all sorts, and I found that the more varieties of music that you are open to, the more doors open for you in music. The more closed-minded you are about music, the more doors close for you too.
I go with message, story, and the vibe of the music.
Yeah,
the beat works, but I like it to be just for me. I like calming music. I do like a little bit of exciting music, but generally everything in my life has to keep me on an evil plane, or even playing really low. I don't want to be up there because I do stupid shit.
Music has been a humongous part of my life. My wife and I will just sit and we'll mess with our phones and we'll play all the stuff we love. Zakk Wylde to The Doors to Gladys Knight and the Pips and Al Green, Teddy Pendergrass, and then Evie loves the 90s rap stuff, so we do 90s rap stuff. You know, just all kinds of genres. Love music, touches your soul, makes you cry, makes you laugh, dude. Music is the freaking best, bro.
Absolutely. Music for me, since I've actually taken it a little serious, a little more serious. I've never really been a money man when it comes to music. Because I believe it should be shared. But that's just my personal belief. And the more that I'm doing it, it's amazing. It's just been such an amazing adventure. I've met so many cool people. And like I said, right now I am currently looking for veteran musicians. I am looking for veteran bands. I'm looking for bands with veterans in them. And I would come on out and talk to you guys. I'm collecting artists right now because I used to work for a nonprofit organization called Harvest of Kindness. Their mission is to help overall homelessness, period. And right now I'm currently talking to a St. Jude's nonprofit organization right now to possibly become an event coordinator. So it is something that you keep following your dream and you work hard at your passion, and you never know where it goes. You never know where it goes. You just have to keep focused, and the negative get to you, man. You know what I mean?
Would you be where you're at today without cannabis and music?
No, I would not be. I would not be.
Near.
Completely miserable. Without music, I probably wouldn't be here. I'd hate to say that. It's just that's how passionate I feel about it. I'm serious.
It's wonderful.
It's one of those things. It's all or nothing, man, and I'm going all in.
I love you, dude.
In other words, people that feel compassionate as I do about certain things is because they have got to the end of their rope. They've been there, and you have nothing to lose. So when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. And if you have a dream, dude, you only have one life, man. Go for it. You might fail, but if you fail, it's got a kick-ass story out of it, man.
It's a road worth traveled because you learn something else.
That's right. And maybe that journey is not intended for you. Maybe that journey is someone that you were helping along the way that does make. You get what I'm saying? You never know how it unravels, man. I'm a religious man, so God will provide. Just remember that. As long as you remember that in your head, it will be all right.
Mm-hmm. And the thing that we try to explain to all of our veteran brothers and sisters, there's always hope.
Yes.
Reach out to a brother, reach out to a sister.
Always.
How many examples of better days do we have to show you guys to know we have
right.
hope?
Come on, y'all. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. I mean, dude, seriously, if you're running into anybody watching this podcast, you know what I mean? My emblem is basically this Jessie Jones, Jessie Jones on Facebook. You'll see a big blue light. You'll see me on stage. Friend me, message me, talk to me. I'll send you music. I'll talk. You know what I mean? You can talk to me about something, dude. If you're a musician, you can share the music with me. I have people call me up at 3:00 in the morning sometimes saying, "Hey, I wrote the song. Will you listen to it?" I'm like, sure, if it's Saturday night. You know what I mean?
Just the bipolar guys call you that way.
Just being honest with you.
Me
What I'm
too.
trying to say is that there are people like myself that are out here that are willing. Okay, and it's not to make a name out for ourselves. I ain't doing this for money, man. I'm doing this because of because I'm passionate about it, man.
Yeah.
Because it gives me reason, it gives me purpose, and it makes me feel good. Mm-hmm. And good reason. That's the reason why I help out some of my disabled friends that live around here, and my homeless veteran friends that live around here, and why I also do what I do around my community when I can do it. You know what I'm saying? It's not for myself. It's to make me feel good and give me purpose. Because for a long time, I felt like I had no purpose. You know what I mean? And
But
all
common
but
thing.
you also realize you had to find it. You had to find it to
find it. So
Yeah.
dude,
Just
once
don't
you
give
get
up
out
looking.
of the military, or if you're going through this right now, better days will come, but it comes down to your attitude, man. It comes down to your attitude. You can be really negative about it, or you can try to be positive about it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as you stay positive about things and you surround yourself with positive people, you'll be all right.
Yep.
You know,
And I would even go as far as suggest, go out there and do a random act of kindness, people, to somebody you don't even know. Just open the door for somebody, right? Even if they don't say thank you. Have old lady's bags and take her to a car if she's willing, you know.
Depending on, you don't want to do it in the middle of the city because you might get smacked with a purse. But what I'm saying,
first go, don't be crazy, Bobby Liberty, you know. But don't be crazy now. I didn't say
Be
that.
like Bobby and shit, yo.
They go mugging people. Hey, let me
Where
take
did
that.
that come from, dude?
I don't know. It came out.
what I'm saying, you are absolutely right. Do a random act of kindness of some sort. Just do, even if it's just saying hi to someone that looks like they're just shitty. Man, tell them a joke. That's funny, you know.
You're letting them know that they're not alone. Somebody actually recognized them, man. That might be something that saves that person's life. Real talk. Real talk.
So I'm gonna do a live stream coming up on my Facebook Live, and I will have two people that are on. Wizard, the guy I keep talking about all the time. I'm gonna have him on.
Does he make the dragon's blood?
All right.
We call it Wizard because man. Some of the guys in the cannabis community have really stepped up, and I really truly appreciate it, man. They've been really cool, man. I've been having technical difficulties on my side, but we're getting there.
So for all of our listeners, man, hit up Jessie Jones on Facebook. Check him out. Listen to his stuff.
Yeah, dude.
Show us some love.
Absolutely, dude.
You got like to take. Yeah, I also like to do some shout outs like I always do for veterans. The Veterans Canada community on Facebook. TJ Durkin and his group, my group, always there to help and talk to you. There's Patriots Helping Vets. Tom Rand helps veterans with all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
There's the Vets Grow for Vets with Rachel Ojeda and Mike Foshi. Great people to deal with.
Yes. I hope you have Mike come on and talk about Vets Grow for Vets in a future episode, man. You know what I mean? That'd be really cool.
Come on, Mike.
I tried to have him on with my. It did not go well at all. We were having technical difficulties. But you know what I mean? Just saying that he's just a really, really good guy.
Yeah. There's also Zero a Day. With David Zuckerman. I don't want to forget nobody, but I think it's pretty. Michael Wershafter. He's check him out on Facebook. He's got his edibles. He can help you make a turkey dinner and everything, and be all in
flowers and food. Flowers and food.
Thank you very much, brother.
Yep.
Yeah. So support your fellow veterans. Reach out to a veteran even if you don't even know or think they're in trouble. Reach out to a vet you haven't talked to in a while. Put out your hand. Go see them. Knock on their door.
Yeah, dude.
Send them an email
on Facebook. Give them a call on Facebook every once in a while, dude. A friend of mine did that. We called like 6 or 7 old shipmates up, and we just sat back and just bullshitted for like 30 minutes about nothing. And it was just, I haven't laughed like that, and I guess I have no clue that I could laugh like the way I did. And it was just a great time. if you are a veteran, man, reach out to your veterans. If you are going through a tough time, if you are depressed, if you have a substance issue, if you have an alcohol issue, man, reach out.
Yep.
Can go to
your brothers and sisters.
You can go to your local community areas too. Sometimes when you go to your local state facilities, sometimes they don't have instantaneous help, but it doesn't mean they don't have resources. That's their job.
Yeah.
They might not be able to help you right then and there, but they'll say, hey, give this phone a call and go see the person, and they will get you arranged. The VA. Use the VA, utilize the VA to the best of your ability. If you are in that dark side, man, reach out. There is hope. There is
Call
a
that
way
number. Call
out of
that
it.
number.
That's right, man. There's nothing's too bad. Nothing is that. Nothing is that.
Agreed. 100%. It ain't that bad, y'all. Somebody's there for you.
Jesse,
right. Sir.
Jesse, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for coming on the show and showing your courage. Thank you for explaining your story and putting it out there for everybody to hear. Hopefully there's other veterans out there that can relate to what you've been saying. Maybe we grab one, man. Maybe we grab one.
Maybe.
Joe,
I hope.
Joe, you're my brother. I love you, bro. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
I wanted to take the time to also tell you, gentlemen, thank you for your service. Thank you for what you do. You are making a difference.
Oh, yeah.
Joe, as always, brother, thank you, man.
Always, brother.
Devil
Till next
Dog,
time.
You're my man, bro. Thanks, guys. Thanks
All right,
for
y'all.
listening. Thanks for showing up, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.